And Bonds hit from high. Hits it deep. It is out of here. 7:56. Bonds stands alone.
Now Booker with Tucker on him. Throws it up for 8. Shot blocked by Antetokounmpo. What a block from Giannis.
17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan, open. Chicago with the lead.
Minute remaining. And they're putting Curry in the pick and roll, trying to get him on Irving. Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown.
We're sending it in, Jerome. That's for damn sure.
Yes. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Taproom Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Stacks on Stacks, lads. Joined with my guy, live from Virginia, Mr. A.K. Aaron Kidd. What's going on? A.K., you there?
Jordan, it is like a heat wave. Hey, Jordan, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're here. We got you.
All right, Jordan. Yeah, man, we went from like a heat wave to a crushing ice wave
How
overnight.
cold is it out
So
there?
it was 78 degrees last Saturday, and today it was frost on my truck this morning. So I am bundled up trying to stay warm here and trying to find some winners.
Holy shit, that's crazy. It's funny because we were like 58 the other day, and then today it was like 75, which is what I love. That's my weather, dude. That's my kind of weather. So, man, that's crazy though. That's why I don't live on the East Coast, man. That's why I don't live on the East Coast. I don't do snow. I hate cold weather.
Yeah.
So it's got to be like I like the intermediate weather. Like I don't like it hot and I don't like it cold, and I live in the desert. Of course. But man, excited to be here.
I just can't take the up and down.
Yeah, true. I'm excited to be here tonight. We did push this show back a day. We got Thursday night football going on. We got some college games going on, which we'll keep everybody updated on if you're not watching and you're listening. But very excited to be here tonight. And before we came on, we had a conversation. I kind of want to carry that conversation over here because I thought it was a really interesting and good conversation. And it was about like players' hype and people kind of overreacting to players early on. And, specifically you were talking about Will Levis and saying how people are already crowning Will Levis and saying that like he's the next great quarterback and all this other stuff. So, what's your thoughts on hype and just like maybe short sample size overreactions, I guess, sort of say?
Yeah, Jordan. So it's a great question. So years, I've been watching sports for 29 years now, I guess 30 years. And it always seems like people are ready to anoint, if you will, the next great insert player A, right? The next great Joe Montana, or if the guy's a lefty, the next great Steve Young, and I almost think it's one insulting to the player that they're talking about because that player, in a sense, earned it. He did it over a stretch of a 10-year, 15-year career. On the second side, I think you're setting higher expectations for a 22, 23-year-old kid that also isn't deserving. Let him or her be their own player, be their own person, and kind of control their own destiny, if you will. It really just drives me bonkers. The one that comes to my mind in recent history is, do you remember when Brock Purdy went on the stretch end of last season and this season? Skip Bayless, some of these other huge media guys are crowning him the next Tom Brady.
Yep.
I'll never forget it.
Touchdown Steelers.
End of September, I saw that Yahoo Sports puts out like a 10,000 word article, and they literally break down how they see that Brock Purdy is Tom Brady, right? That writer's probably maybe looking for a job right now, after the October that Brock Purdy's had. But that's a different story. But I think it just creates unnecessary pressure on that player. Let that person be their own person and control their own destiny. I remember I'm a big Washington Commanders, Redskins fan and RG3 had one of the greatest rookie seasons in recent history of a quarterback, and they're ready to don him the next Michael Vick. Oh, he's changing the game. Say whatever you want to say. And the guy never played another full season after that.
Well, that was injuries.
And those things happen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just about not living up to the hype, but injuries happen. All kinds of things happen. I just don't think it's fair to either player, really. And it just drives me absolutely bonkers.
Because, I mean, I see where you're coming from, but I also see, like, the others. Like, people always want to find the next great player. Like, and this goes to, like, especially, someone that is into trading cards, right? Like, you're always looking for that next big player because that could be a jewel. You know what I mean? Like, if you get a rookie card of a guy like Wembanyama, for example, and he ends up being a bona fide Hall of Famer, top 3 player, I mean, you're sitting on gold right there, right? But I think that, like, when we're evaluating players, it's always hard to evaluate players from, college and high school and kind of, predict how their professional future is going to be because they're kids, right? They're not adults yet. So you don't know how they're going to like mature, if they're going to mature, because that's a big thing, is like mental side of things, right? But on the other side, there's guys like LeBron James, and we talked about him. We really pinpointed him when we were talking earlier. Is like, he's older than I am by a year, but he had unbelievable expectations, right? Like, he was on Sports Illustrated at 16. He was compared to Magic Johnson, and he was called the chosen one. And that turned everybody off because they were like, well, this kid hasn't proven anything, so fuck this guy. And they've held that against him his entire fucking 21-year career. Like, there's people I know that still hate him and refuse to acknowledge how great he actually is because he's exceeded the expectations put on him. I mean, if you were to tell me in 2003 that LeBron James would be playing 21 years, would be a 4-time MVP, 19-time All-Star, 20-time All-Star, fucking like 15 All-NBA, went to 7 straight finals. Like, if you were to tell me all that stuff, I would be like, no fucking way, dude. Like, nobody's going to do that. Like, that was what Michael Magic did it. Like, that's it. But he's exceeded all that. And yet people still refuse to give him his props. So, like, we kind of have like two sides of the extreme where it's like, yes, we crown players a little too early and we want to make them the next great thing. But then on the flip side, when they are the next great thing, people shit on them. Like, look at Mahomes, dude. Everyone was like, oh, well, and people still do it. Well, Mahomes has Andy Reid. Mahomes has Kelsey. Mahomes has Tyreek Hill. Mahomes has blah, blah, blah. He wins a Super Bowl last year without Tyreek Hill. And like, he won that Super Bowl on one leg. And people still can't acknowledge it. You know what I mean? Like, well, Mahomes has Andy Reid. You know what I mean? Like, there's a sense in the world. I don't know necessarily the world, but definitely America, where like we don't like players that are hyped. We don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, we want players to just be humble, and that's why people love Tom Brady, because Tom Brady was like a humble guy. He was a 6th-round pick. And I think that's what turned people on about Brock Purdy. Same thing. He was a 7th-round pick, came from nothing, and people wanted him to be greater than he actually was or is. He's still playing. So I don't know. I think there's a balance there somewhere, because I do agree that sometimes, like, Will Levis, everyone's like, oh, man, he's the next best quarterback. It's like, bro, he's played 6 quarters. Like, let's let it play out. And he could be. He very well could be. But, like, he's played 1.5 games, dude. Like, let's be real here. So I think we just need to find a balance. You know what I mean?
And so I will say, Jordan, I agree. So even though I think, I guess what's on the left side over here, what you said is all true. I guess I am one of the ones that I hate the hype before it's proven on the field. But I went through this with LeBron, because I will say I am a diehard Michael Jordan guy. And anyone listening here that knows me on a personal level at all knows I am Michael Jordan through and through. But I guess I was able to find that balance within me and say, hold on now, look at what LeBron's done now, right? So there was a time, maybe 5 years ago, when I acknowledged that, okay, he's done what he's got to do. I was the same way with Kobe.
It took him 16 years for you to actually say, hold on.
I hated the comparisons. And I'll be honest, it probably took me just as long Kobe. And now I think, man, those three guys are just three of the greatest to ever do it, and I'll say it, to anyone. Once you prove it, you do prove it. But what's crazy is there's actually a third level, a layer to this, if you will. If we're going to peel back all of them, let's peel back all of them. I'm going to throw out Russell Wilson right now. Okay. Russell Wilson was on his way on a Hall of Fame trajectory career, right? He took down that Broncos team that, Peyton threw 50 touchdowns, and they call it the greatest offense of all time, et cetera, et cetera. They beat him 43-8 in the Super Bowl, right? He comes back, questionable play call, probably should have had another Super Bowl, right? Call it for what it is. Run the damn ball, right? And so I think he was on a Hall of Fame trajectory career. Yeah, he had a great defense, and that's another subject, but I think he's kind of played himself out of the Hall of Fame conversation now. Yeah. So you have to do it from the beginning of your career to the end of your career. You have to do it the whole way. And what you said about Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, man, anyone that argues that they're either one of those guys aren't one of the greatest to ever do it, you must not watch a lot of football, or you must play a lot of Madden football, because you're not watching the game for what it is, man.
Well, I mean, I'll be one of the real ones, and I'll tell you straight up, like, I don't think Tom Brady's one of the greatest quarterbacks from talent perspective. When I talk about pure talent of playing quarterback, I'm talking the John Elways, the Dan Marinos, Steve Youngs of the world. Like, I don't even put Joe Montana on that plateau. Patrick Mahomes, like, I just think those guys at playing quarterback, they're just on a whole different level. But the Bradys and the Joe Montanas, like, they're very like cerebral, smart, and they do what the team needs them to do type quarterbacks. And Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowls, so he'll forever be known as the GOAT, even though football is the most team-oriented sport of all time. Like, would Tom Brady have dragged any of those Broncos teams that John Elway dragged to Super Bowls? Probably not. But that's also a very hypothetical question, you know what I mean? Like, that can't be answered. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that Tom Brady isn't one of the greatest of all time. I'm talking from a pure talent perspective. I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback just from talent. And
another one I'd throw up there, Jordan, is Peyton Manning. I think from a talent standpoint, he's up there.
Yeah, Manning was a great talented quarterback as well. But as far as like Russell Wilson concerned, like when you brought that up, I was kind of like, man, is he a I never considered him to be a Hall of Famer. But that is an interesting question, and it also, like we were talking about too, is like the Hall of Fame has become the Hall of Really Good as of late. So I mean, he very well could be a Hall of Famer, and I guess it's like the media votes on it, right? So it's like if the media likes you, you're pretty much guaranteed in. But no,
I think 3 ones that'll be debated for a long time, which we said it already. Russell Wilson. I think Eli Manning will be debated for a long time.
Oh God!
And I also, and I'll throw another one at you. I think Phillip Rivers will be debated for a long time.
Mm-hmm. The Eli one's interesting because, like, if he doesn't win those 2 Super Bowls, it's like guaranteed no Hall of Fame. But because he has those 2 Hall of Fames, and because of who he beat, that kind of changes everything about how people think of him. So,
and I hate to say this, but
hold on, we lost you there for a second, AK. What'd you say?
Oh, I was just saying, when you're talking about dragging a team, through the mud and making it happen, man, those Giants teams weren't the greatest.
Yeah, but they had great
especially
defenses.
That second one.
They had great defenses.
Yeah, they did. Yep, Strahan, but he was kind of on the end of his career. But yeah, I mean, they did.
Justin Tucker.
Yeah, Justin Tucker. They figured it out, man. And I think those 3 quarterbacks in 10 years we'll probably be debating why one of them got in and why one of them didn't.
Yep. I mean, you're probably right for sure. All right. Before we talk about some games this week, I do want to bring up the college football playoff rankings. Obviously, every year the first one comes out and everybody's kind of got their own opinions of how it goes. What's your opinion about the college football playoff rankings so far? So we have Ohio State number 1, Georgia number 2, Michigan number 3, and Florida State number 4, with Washington on the outside looking in. What do you think, AK?
Jordan, you asked me this last night, and you asked me this last night, and I didn't really have an answer at the time, and I really started thinking about it and diving into it, and you know, based on what we have, it's probably close to being right. There's an argument for Washington to be in, but what Washington, it's always what have you done for me lately, right? It's always that. And we'll talk about this later, but Washington's probably pretty lucky to be 8-0 right now. And we'll talk about that in depth later. Florida State,
But
I think for the most part, has looked apart.
But AK, don't you think of Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State? I would argue that Washington has a better win than all of them.
Yeah, and so that's what I was getting ready to say. I'll be honest, man. I'm the first one to say I don't think Georgia's been that impressive all year.
Nah,
And I may be going against the grain here, but I, I haven't been too impressed with Georgia this life. I just don't think they've looked that impressive this year. I don't think it's the Georgia team that we've had the last few years. I'll say that, but and I do agree. I'll be honest, man. I've said this for pretty much all season. I think Washington's one of the best teams in the country, but I know me and you kind of had a little friendly banter back and forth last week about this certain team, but I would say Oregon's one of the best teams out there.
Yep,
I think. Look what they did to Utah last week. I mean, that's unprecedented. I think Utah had won 29 out of 30 straight games at home.
Yep. I said on the podcast.
Oregon came in there. And,
I said on the podcast last week, I think Oregon's the best team in the Pac-12. And
yep.
You and I both had Oregon against Washington. We both watched the game. We both thought Oregon was a better team. You know, you take away two bad decisions by Dan Lanning, and they probably win that game by over a touchdown, right? So I think with that being said,
and so Jordan, I'd actually love to hear your.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Being a West Coast guy, it just feels like those Pac-12 teams never get the love, right?
No.
Like it's been a notable thing over the years. Yeah. They just don't get the love that the SEC does, or of the last 10 years or so of the Big Ten, right? Those have kind of become the two power conferences, if you want to call it that.
I think the big problem is that every time a Pac-12 school gets in, like Washington got in and got fucking bombarded by Alabama. Yeah. Oregon got in and got blown out by Ohio State. So I think the committee just remembers those things, and they're just like, well, like we're not gonna put in that team just for them to get blown out again. Like it doesn't make any sense. Whether that's fair or not, you know what I mean? Like I just I don't know. I think that like you can't. College football playoff committee is a joke. First of all, we don't know how they fucking come up with these rankings. Like they're not transparent about it at all. I think they just kind of like put in who they like and et cetera. Like that's why we get SEC and Big Ten teams all the time. Like we always get these big market teams, and then every time they do put in a Cincinnati or a lower, like TCU actually made a good run last year, and then they got absolutely destroyed in the fucking national championship, which kind of hurt the Big 12, I think, going forward. But that would be my only reasoning, and that's kind of why we need an 18 playoff at least, dude. Because then it opens it up to the point where like we don't have this group of people just objectively or subjectively creating this playoff that nobody knows the formula as to why they do it. You know what I mean? Because like it makes no sense to me why Washington and Washington has struggled the last 2 weeks against Stanford and ASU. I 100% agree. But they have the best win amongst three of those teams. Like, Michigan has beaten nobody, right? And not only have they not beaten nobody, they've only covered 2 games. So it's not like they're, like, beating expectations.
Same way with Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia as well. Like, for me, like, Washington has to be in there for sure. And I would even probably throw Oregon in there. Oregon has better win than all those teams, too. And their only loss is on the road to Washington. Like, so if I was making the rankings today, it would be Ohio State number 1, Washington number 2, Oregon number 3, and then Florida State number 4. That would be my set of rankings. And obviously, Michigan playing Ohio State is going to change a lot of things, right?
Right.
Georgia, if they run the table and win the SEC, they're obviously getting in. You know what I mean? And then if Oregon has to play, like, if Washington loses to USC this week, which I think is going to happen, which we're going to talk about later, and then Oregon beats Washington in the Pac-12 championship, if they play in the Pac-12 championship, then obviously that takes care of Washington. They're out, and it's Oregon in there. So I think that the first set of rankings, I think the committee kind of like went with who they think is going to ultimately be in there rather than who should be in there right now. Would you agree?
No, I agree, and I think you get. Like I go back to what I said earlier. I think you always get a little recency bias, man. Look what Georgia's done the last couple of years. So automatically they're undefeated. You know they're going to be in there,
Yeah.
right? Whether they've won every game against, Northwestern or and Vanderbilt by a touchdown, it doesn't matter. They're always going to be there because like you said, if they go undefeated during the regular season, Georgia's always going to be there.
Yep.
It's just what it is.
Even though they don't play nobody.
I'd even throw Ohio State is in there now.
Yeah.
Like they're in that category. They go undefeated during the regular season, they're in the playoffs.
Well, the funny thing about Ohio State, AK, and like I have them in because they beat Notre Dame and they beat Penn State, but like they haven't looked good. You know what I mean? Like they've won, but they haven't looked good.
And I'd argue they shouldn't have won the Notre Dame game.
Yeah, they probably shouldn't. They definitely probably shouldn't have won that game. So I mean, that's a funny thing about that team is like, yeah, I do think that they're number one right now because they do have 2 quality wins, but they haven't looked great, and I think everybody would agree with that. Everybody would agree with that. So
I am excited for the 12 team playoff start next year, Jordan.
Yeah, I think it's gonna open up a lot of things and especially like this year. This year would be the perfect year because there's no like, usually we have like 1 or 2 teams that are like we know are gonna be in the championship. This is the 1 year where like we don't know. This would have been the best year for a 12-team playoff. But I'm telling you right now, AK, if Alabama takes care of LSU this weekend and they somehow make it to the SEC championship, they're gonna find their way in the fucking playoff, dude. I already know, and I'm already bracing myself to fucking hate it, dude. I'm already waiting.
Hey, Jordan, let me tell you a couple because the first 4 will have a bye. Let me just rattle off a couple. If it was to start today and we had a 12-team playoff, Oregon and Penn State, Alabama and Oklahoma, Ole Miss and Texas, and Washington and Missouri. Sounds like a couple of good games to me.
Oh, dude, that Washington Missouri game would be fucking bananas, dude. That would be.
And I think that Penn State Oregon game would be.
Honestly, I think Oregon would roll Penn State.
Yeah.
I don't think Penn State can keep up with Oregon scoring. Like I want Oregon to get in.
Well, especially because in that format, Penn State would have to go to Oregon.
Yeah.
Lower seed has to go to them in that format next year, the first round.
And we already know what James Franklin
on school campuses.
James Franklin on the road against a top 10 team, dude. You already know he's gonna lose, bro. You don't even have to play the game. You could just fucking eliminate Penn State right away. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like this would be the best year, and honestly, I think going forward we're gonna get a lot more parity, I guess, sort of say, in college football because of the NIL. I think it's gonna open things up. But we're already seeing NCAA kind of crack down on NIL and college hoops, by not allowing players to play because they've transferred once or twice. Aziz Badago from Utah Valley transferred to Cincinnati. He's already been ruled out for this year's. NCAA won't let him play.
Yeah, the kid from Tulane that transferred to LSU got ruled out too.
So we're already seeing him kind of crack down on it. And
well, they don't want him transferring twice. That's the whole thing. Like, I guess they started abusing it to like they don't want you to go to USC and then transfer to Utah Valley and ball out for a year and then go transfer to Washington.
Yeah,
they don't want you to.
My only knock on that is like Utah Valley lost Mark Madsen, so why does Aziz want to stay there? You know what I mean? Like his coach left, and like I think it's fair to like want to leave. Like, bro, you can leave junior colleges if you want. No one cares. You know what I mean? But I don't know, like I do think that there has to be a balance. Like you can't just let guys bounce around every year because they get paid more.
No, you can't. What is it? JT Daniels it.
Yeah. Because I mean, I get it. Like some guys, like they go, especially with NIL, they can like go to whoever pays them, and that's what they're trying to eliminate. Is they're trying to eliminate like a free agency frenzy, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, is like I do think that there's situations where like if the coach leaves, if things happen within the program, like it kind of, I think that players should be allowed to move on and stuff. So we'll see how it works out going forward. But before we leave the show, I do want to talk some college hoops. So keep that in mind real quick, AK. But let's talk about some games this week. Why don't we? That's why we're here, to get winners. First game we're going to talk about is Missouri at Georgia. This is at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 12:30 Pacific. Currently Georgia 15.5 point favorites. The total is 55.5. Missouri comes in 7-1 on total, and they are 5-3 ATS. Georgia 8-0, 3-5 against the spread. What do you think about this game, AK?
Well, Jordan, I'll start off by saying, on Sundays, me and you and a couple of other my buddies, we'll chat and talk and look at some lines that, Circa opens up and things like that. And when I looked at this line, it kind of jumped out of off the page at me. I was like, hold on.
Yep.
Like I was expecting the line to be like 11.5, right? And I'm like, Georgia hasn't been able to cover a big spread all year hardly. Why is this spread 15.5? First off, congratulations to Missouri and what they've done this year, right? I was wrong about Missouri, so I'll take my L there. What Missouri's come out and done, shout out to our good friend AC Money, huge Missouri fan. What they've done is they've come out and put their money where their mouth is. So congratulations to them, man. But I think the line really is a telltale sign here of I think the wheels may fall off Missouri this weekend against Georgia. And there's always going to be that game where Georgia just smashes someone. And I hate to say that they're due to smash someone, but they kind of are. Look at the Kentucky game, right? People was on that Kentucky game, that trend, and Georgia comes out and puts up, I think, 31 in the first half on them, and it was just over before it ever began. So if I was looking to play this game, it'd definitely be Georgia or nothing for me.
Tell you one thing, AK. I want to play Missouri, but when Georgia came out and got the second overall CFP, I'm telling you right now, bro, they are out for blood this weekend.
Yep.
They are out for blood, and they are going to prove that they're the best. They want to prove they're the best team in the country, and I want no part in backing Missouri this week at all. I think Georgia probably steamrolls them.
Nope.
And I probably won't play this game, but
I honestly do too. And that line hasn't moved
all week.
Like I thought for sure Missouri would take money. Like people would just kind of like auto bet it.
Yeah.
Just seeing like, oh my God, number 12, 7-1 Missouri is traveling to Georgia. Georgia hasn't been able to cover a spread all year. Let's just auto bet Missouri getting, 2 touchdowns plus some. And the fact that line hasn't moved at all, I think it's just a telling sign that I think Georgia comes out and steam and just kind of smashes them.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like I was on Florida last week, unfortunately. But I was like, oh, how's Georgia's offense going to look without Brock Bowers? And it looked good, you know what I mean? And obviously, Missouri's probably better than Florida, but how much better, I don't know. Like Carson Beck's obviously a better quarterback than Graham Mertz, but Graham Mertz statistically is one of the best quarterbacks in the country this year, surprisingly. And it's tough because outside of a couple stupid ass decisions by Billy Napier, they probably covered the number. Like going for it in the second quarter on your own 30-yard line, that wasn't the best decision. But
it's like 37-yard line, and they're like going for it on 4th and a yard and a half, and I'm like, oh, this thing's over with.
Yeah, yep. And once they didn't get it, I like already chalked it up as an L, dude. It was over. But yeah, man, I'm with you, dude. I definitely, it's a Georgia or no play for me, especially after the college football rankings came out. If Georgia came out and they were number 1, probably feel a little bit different. But the fact they're number 2, I know how Kirby Smart is, and we've seen this before, and I don't think it's gonna be pretty for Missouri, dude.
Yeah, if he has a chance to step on their throat, he's gonna do it. It's good news if you're back in Georgia.
He will definitely do it. Man, TCU really gave that game away to Texas Tech tonight.
That was another one, Jordan, that I thought the line was a little weird on. I expected it to be close to a pick 'em, and I'm like, Texas Tech's laying 3. There was a little buy, like there was a point today where it dropped to like 2.5, and then it went like immediately back to 3.
It closed 2.5 most spots.
It did close 2.5, yeah.
CLV. It's great. Doesn't do shit.
Gosh, CLV has been trashed this year in college football, man. Like me and you had Fresno State last week -9. Like
Closes
what a great
11.
number to have. Runs off like 11, and they fucking win by 7.
Yeah. And it looked like for a while they were going to cover too. And then they just kind of was a joke defensively. But that's college football, man. That's how it goes.
Old man told me one time, the number you got is only important if it wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, dude. Like, it's 100% true. All right, let's look at Washington at USC next. This is a big game. This is kicking off at I don't have a time here. I think it's at 12:30
I think it's
though.
7:30 my time.
Okay, so 4:30 p.m. USC currently catching 3. Washington laying the 3. Totals at 76.5. USC on the money line plus $1.28. Washington minus $1.54. Washington comes into this game 8-0, 3-4-1 against the spread. USC 7-2, 2-7 against the spread. USC has not covered a game in since the USC has not covered since the Stanford game when they won 56-10, 156-10. Washington has not covered since the Cal game on September 23rd, which they won 59-32. So both these teams struggling against the spread, struggling to meet market expectations. What do you think about this game, AK?
So another one where I don't mean to keep honing in on this, but I think late in the season you can really, a line will tell a lot of the tale. When this game opened, I texted you and a couple of my buddies and one of my other group texts just some early thoughts that I had on a couple games, and this was either one or two of my list. And I said, USC's only getting 3.5. Like I thought that game would be like 4.5 or 5, and I started really diving into it. And I'm like, well, did Washington really deserve to win the last 2 games? It took a 92-yard pick six to win last week, so they probably should have lost the game. Game before that, they probably should have lost. So are there some cracks showing with this Washington team? Maybe. And yes, I know the argument is going to be, well, it might be a buy low spot on Washington. I don't think so. I think the bookmakers are always going to look at Washington for what they are. They're an undefeated team.
You could make the same argument for USC.
When you turn around and see USC,
you could make the same argument for
USC. Well, yeah. So I'll tell you this. If USC had a loss to Cal last week, they hadn't had that comeback in that fourth quarter, I would not be playing this game with a 10-foot pole. But they came back, they won, and guess what? They still got not really an outside shot. They pretty much got a shot to win the Pac-12 or a chance to be there, right? They're in survival mode. I got a couple numbers to throw at you. Washington's 2-8 against the spread as a road favorite in their last 11 against, 2-8 as a road favorite, 3-8 overall in their last 11 as a chalk favorite against Pac-12. Yep. So there you go. I saw some stats earlier in the week. 89% of the tickets, almost all, 89% of the tickets was on Washington. We got 3.5. The line ticks down to 3. Hold on. You're telling me everybody and their mom and their cousin and their baby daddy is on Washington and the line's ticking towards USC? That's a telltale sign in itself. There's some wise guys somewhere that see what we're seeing, man. So I think USC stays within the number, and I don't think the number may matter, to be honest with you. I think they went outright.
Yeah, I'll say this, AK, and I'm a USC guy first and foremost. Got my Trojan banner over there. I can't even point right. There we go, right there. The honeymoon's over with Lincoln Riley, and I think he senses that. Alumni very disappointed this year with the regression. Boosters are disappointed, and I think he understands he has to win football games, and it starts now. This is a big fucking game, and this will take a lot of pressure on him. He's making a lot of fucking money. He's making $14 million a year. He's making that money to win national championships. He's not making that kind of money to win Pac-12 games, Pac-12 titles. So like you said, they have a chance. They control their own destiny, really, because Utah is in only one game ahead of them in the South, although the 2 top teams are going to win. But basically, everybody but Washington has a Pac-12 loss. Oregon State has 2 Pac-12 losses. So, does Oregon State have 2 Pac-12 losses? I'm trying to think. Do they have 2 or 1?
No, they have 2 Pac-12 losses.
Yeah, Oregon State has 2 Pac-12 losses.
Both of the losses were Pac-12.
Utah has 1.
Yeah.
And Utah plays Oregon State, Utah plays, or or Oregon State. I'm sorry. Oregon State plays. Who do they play this week? They play. Oregon State plays Washington.
Well, they play Colorado, but see, they have to
yeah, they
go
play
through
Colorado.
Washington and Oregon.
Yeah, they still got to play Washington and Oregon. So USC really, if they win this game, like they still have to go to Austin, they still have to go to Eugene and beat Oregon. And like I don't expect them to win in Oregon. Winning in Oregon is like fucking asking a lot. But this game is huge. You win this game, and you could very well win the conference. Because Washington still has to play Oregon State. Right?
Yep.
Washington still has to play their rival, Wazoo, in the Apple Cup. So, this is a huge game. And I think Lincoln Riley is feeling the pressure. And I think that this is a game that USC is going to fucking win. I can't remember the last time USC was a dog at home. I can't. Even during the Clay Helton eras. It's been a long fucking time. I can't even remember the last time Lincoln Riley was a dog. He was a favorite every game last year. Are you pulling it up?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up. I had this number earlier and I'm sad I lost it. All right, here we go. In the history of in USC, at the Coliseum as a dog, they're 16-10-1, and they're 7-3 against the spread versus an undefeated team walking in there.
Yeah. Yep. I think the Coliseum is going to be fucking rocking. There's going to be a lot of badasses, bad beezies, drunk as fuck. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere, baby. It's going to be a wild
Sounds like
one.
me at Scott Stadium with 6 other people.
I love it. I love USC this week. AK, I text you on, I think it was like Tuesday night at like 2 a.m, 5 a.m. your time. I was like, yeah, USC's going to win this game. We're hammering. We're throwing the hammer on USC, dude. It's
Yeah, I mean,
I don't bet on my team.
I sent out my thoughts
often.
that day.
I don't bet on my.
It might be one of my biggest bets of the college football season. So, I've got 3.5. I've got a little 3. I mean, I might even play some on the money line. I just think it happens, man. And I don't get into narratives, and all this and that, and it's survival mode. But I just Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams.
Well, I think Caleb's got to show out too because, like, there's a lot of questions around his character and stuff going into the NFL draft. He was like the best prospect since Andrew Luck, guaranteed, bona fide, #1 pick. Now people are like, well, hold up. This ain't what we expected.
Yep.
So I think Caleb really has to show out here too. I think this is big for both Caleb and Luke.
I would argue that Penix has to show out too. And I'd argue that Penix has to show out too. And on the road in the Coliseum, that's a terrible game to have to win.
Yep. And
walking in there as undefeated. Why you call it, I guess, being hunted, right?
Yeah, it's different when you're the hunter and the hunted. And now USC is the hunter and not the hunted.
I learned this from one of our good friends of the show, Adam Tricker. He told me this a long time ago. A team like Washington the last few years has had some really good seasons, but I would say they've kind of been the hunter, right? And what they've done the last few seasons, which shout out to them. They've been great. But now they're the hunted. And when you got somebody like USC, a hungry Lincoln Riley, a hungry Caleb Williams,
spells trouble.
I just think it's a mixture for a win for USC.
I agree. I do think this goes over, by the way, too.
And I think the line says it.
Yeah, I do. Like you said, I was shocked that this was only a field goal.
Oh yeah, I agree. I don't know if it was you, but I told somebody that I think it's the first person to get to 50.
Yeah, dude, that's how I felt about the Utah game last year, and Utah was the first team that went to 50. I think that's I think it's a way for a lot of SC games because SC is not the greatest defensive team. But man, bro, Stanford just shredded Washington. And USC's got a lot better offense. Washington should have lost to ASU. They should have lost to Stanford. I think the buck stops here. The luck runs out. They get their first L this weekend.
Yeah, see, I think in put in that same situation, a team like USC doesn't lose those games. They find a way to win it, right?
Yeah.
Where teams like ASU, Stanford, those teams find a way to normally pack it in and lose those games. But I think you're going to get USC's top effort. I think you're going to get 70,000 people at the Coliseum.
Hopefully, yeah.
It's tough to walk into.
Yep, 100%, man. Looking forward to that one, man. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'll win or lose, I'll probably be really fucking drunk after the game. After a loss, you might not hear from me for a fucking week. So, let's hope for a W, dude. I might be dead actually after a loss. Might fucking go run into some traffic out here in the F1. All right, let's move on to LSU at Alabama, and then I do want to talk about the Bedlam game as well. A quick talk about that. LSU at Alabama. LSU +3. Alabama laying the 3. Totals at 61.5. Alabama comes in here 7-1, 5-3 against the spread. LSU 6-2, 5-3 against the spread. LSU, this is a crazy fucking stat, dude. 8-0 to the over. The first time since this has been documented that a team's 8-0 this deep into the season to the over. Can Alabama slow down this LSU offense, which may be the best offense in college football, AK?
Yeah, no, I agree. And exactly, can they slow them down and can they score with them? If they can't. Mm-hmm. So they can't slow them down. Can they score with them? Alabama's kind of struggled on that side of the ball some this year.
I think Jalen Miller was better, though.
He has. And so, we kind of saw this in the Tennessee game. Me and you were both on Alabama in that game, and they kind of backdoor covered it. I would call that a backdoor cover.
Front door cover.
Down by 14 at halftime and needed to cover like 12 and a half or whatever it was. So, but I will say, man, there's nobody that can make in-game adjustments like Nick Saban. So if LSU does come out and start moving the ball on them, I expect adjustments to be made. I am the first one to admit, and this is not how you should be, or this is not advice at all. Actually, it's advice not to be like this. I hate playing against Alabama. And I think this is from like years and years of trying to fade them. And I've just been burned so many times that it is very tough for me to fade out Alabama.
Nick Saban struggles against mobile quarterbacks, though.
Oh.
He's struggled against mobile quarterbacks forever. Johnny Manziel, Cam Newton, a lot of mobile quarterbacks have made Nick Saban's life hell. And Jaden Daniels, shout out to Jaden Daniels, because when he was at ASU, I was like, dude, this kid is electric athletically, but like he just can't throw the fucking football. But now he's like one of the best deep passers in college football. It's fucking insane. And like I don't think he's going to be a first round draft pick, but he's definitely going to get drafted next year. I think he's going to be like QB 4 or 5. He might get drafted in the first round, definitely second or third round. But he has a chance to win the Heisman. He's been that good. And LSU's defense, for as bad as they were, like I was shocked they shut out Army last week. Army scored 0 points, AK. And a triple option. Well, I'm telling you right now, Alabama don't throw the ball very well. Obviously, they got a better offensive line than Army. But, I don't know, man. I kind of like LSU in this spot. I'm not going to lie. And it worries me.
Hey, Jordan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Sorry, man. I had a little technical difficulties.
It's all right. We roll with it. We hear. Did you hear what I said though?
I heard most of what you said about the season of Jay Daniels. We were high on him coming into the season.
Yeah, but my point about Alabama and them is that I was shocked that LSU held Army scoreless last week. As crazy as it sounds, like LSU hasn't been able to stop anybody, and they were able to stop Army from running the ball. And now you're going against the Alabama team that struggles throwing the ball. That's a great rushing team. And that's what concerns me about Alabama. I know they came back against Tennessee, but I'm telling you right now, Tennessee's offense is nowhere near as good as LSU's. And so
I agree, man.
I'm concerned if Alabama can keep up with LSU. So
No, I agree, man. Like I said, if they struggle to slow them down, I don't know. I agree. I don't know if their offense can keep up.
Can they slow them down, though? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think Ole Miss is a very good offensive.
Yeah.
Down. They only scored 10 points on them.
Yeah, but
so
Ole Miss doesn't possess
I think
that.
I may be a little bit higher on Alabama's defense than some, but
AK, Ole Miss doesn't possess that dual threat quarterback like Jaden Daniels is.
Yeah, I get it, man. It's definitely a no play for me.
Damn. I'm like talking myself into LSU every day with this game. I really am. Like, dude, this is only 3. Why is it only 3?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Jaden Daniels for Heisman. Honestly, I think a better bet than betting LSU. If you like LSU in this game, just play Jaden Daniels to win Heisman, because if he wins this game, he's probably the front runner for Heisman.
That's a good angle.
Because right now you can get him 11.
That's probably true.
You can get him 11, 12, 13, depending on where you shop. You can get him that good number. I guarantee you, if he wins this game, that number drops in half. Because if LSU
it's 7-1 after that, probably 8-1.
If LSU wins this game, it's because of him. And then you know what else is going to piss me off too?
Yeah.
If LSU wins this game, and I was like, yo, we should have played LSU to win the SEC.
Win the SEC. Yeah.
I'm gonna be so mad at you. I'm gonna be mad at you more than anyone.
I don't know, man. That's a tough one to win.
It's a tough game to win, but Johnny Manziel did it. Andy did it hungover.
Johnny Manziel is larger than life, man.
Andy did it hungover.
That's right. He may have still been drunk for like the first 2 quarters.
Yeah, so I mean, if he could do it, Jaden Daniels could do it. Because this Alabama team ain't as good as the team he saw. All right, before we move on, let's talk the Bedlam game real quick. Because Oklahoma State has been playing some fucking great football. And we talked about this in the preview, is like, you know, Oklahoma State wasn't supposed to be good, but we all agreed that what's the coach's name?
Mike Gundy.
Mike Gundy. We all agree Mike Gundy, he gets the best out of the little. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
his teams always just figure out ways to play. Oklahoma State, 5.5-point dogs at home. Oklahoma laying 5.5. Oklahoma comes into this game 7-1, 6-2 against the spread. Oklahoma State 6-2, 5-3 against the spread. Oklahoma State is on a run covering, by the way. Does it end here?
Yep.
Because I bet against them the last 3 weeks.
So I am very close to playing this. I'm kind of hoping we can get a 6 again, because like there were 6s out there and they're kind of like gone away. But I feel like there'll be some bow back in Oklahoma. Let me tell you something. You kind of nailed it with Oklahoma State. They won 5 straight. They got embarrassed against South Alabama. If you remember, we were on South Alabama in that game.
Yep.
Completely embarrassed. Here we go. Mike Gundy, though, wakes his teams up, comes up. And you know how they've been doing it? Mike Gundy's usually like kind of an explosive type offense. If you remember, they used to throw it around the yard, some of those Oklahoma State teams. They've been doing it by running the ball.
Yep.
And they have been dominating their line of scrimmage running the ball. Oklahoma this year, over their last 101 in FBS football against the run, allowing 177 yards per game over their last 3. For the season, they've allowed 135 yards per game. And when you look at some of the teams they've played, that probably doesn't even do it justice what it really is. Oklahoma's defense is a liability. They can't stop the run. UCF probably should have beat them. I probably give that win to UCF. And I think Mike Gundy's a hell of a coach. Say what you want to about his personality. The man is a hell of a coach, and you're seeing it now.
I'm 40. I'm 40.
I'm a real man. I'm 40. It's like what was it like Pinocchio? He's like, I'm a real boy. Like every time I hear that Mike Gundy thing, I think of Pinocchio for some reason. But anyway, I think Oklahoma. I think there may be a time where we're like, well, maybe we were a little wrong on Oklahoma, because I thought Oklahoma was going to come out and be great, right?
Yeah, you did. And you and CT did. I did. I wasn't as high on Oklahoma as you guys were.
Yeah, and so maybe it just isn't there. And when you look at this spot, the fact that Oklahoma State against Oklahoma, and you're telling me that I can grab close to a touchdown at home with a team that's red hot against a team that can run the ball down their throat, against a team that can't stop the run, against a veteran-laden coach. Mike Gundy's been there, 19 years now, and he's always found a way.
The only thing the only pushback I would give you, AK, is the fact that like West Virginia like moved the ball all over Oklahoma State, right? And Cincinnati, Emory Jones is nice, but like outside of him, like that team just sucks.
It does.
Satterfield's like the worst coach of all time. And I don't know if Oklahoma State has played a like competition. I know Oklahoma State beat Kansas. That was like their big win of the year. They beat Kansas State, very shocking, but they lost to Iowa State too. Like, let's not forget that. You know what I mean? I don't know, dude, because like I do think that Oklahoma has a talent, and like I definitely like I was mad I didn't play Kansas last week because I knew Oklahoma was overlooking Kansas to play this game, especially knowing Jalen Daniels wasn't going to play for Kansas. I'm telling you, they were overlooking it. I honestly, for me, this is playing Oklahoma or nothing, dude. Like, I would not play Oklahoma State. I honestly might get to the window with Oklahoma if it's under a touchdown. They might blow the fucking brakes off them.
I'm looking at some odds right now. There are some sixes popping back up.
It just worries me because, like, the same thing with Lincoln Riley going on. I'm telling you, bro. Venables loses this game to Oklahoma State. He gonna have to answer to a lot of people, dog. They're not gonna be happy out there in those bumfuck Egypt, wherever the fuck that Oklahoma is, Norman, Oklahoma.
It's gonna be some pissed off cattle ranchers.
So I lean Oklahoma in that game. I think that Oklahoma's gone through some struggles. Dylan Gabriel is a great fucking quarterback. And again, Oklahoma State, they've struggled stopping good offenses. They struggled stopping West Virginia, which is a decent offense. So
Ollie Gordon, Oklahoma State's running back, has 858 yards rushing
games
in the last 3 games.
He's been unreal, bro. He's been great, man. He's been great. All right, let's get to some best bets, AK.
Let's go, y'all.
Well, first of all, let's be transparent here. We're both on the same fucking team. We're both on USC. We got them at +3.5. I would still play it at +3. I would honestly take it money line. I think USC wins outright. So I'll leave that at that. But anything else you like?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely ugly. But and I don't usually bet on my team either, just like you do. But Virginia coming out laying 2 against Georgia Tech, I think is a play.
That did shock me, dude. That did shock me too.
I think Georgia Tech coming off of the huge game against North Carolina, which now they've beaten them 2 years in a row, kind of derailed North Carolina's season or put the dagger in them 2 years in a row now. Coming off that high, coming to Virginia, a place that's always going to play them tough. Um, I kind of like my Wahoos, man. I think you can find the money line still like minus 120, minus 125. If you're afraid of the 2.5, man, I'd just take a money line. So UVA money line.
It's taking the Whoos.
Yep.
Let's go. I like that. I like that play too. I honestly, I looked at that line and I was like, hold on, what? Virginia's lane 2 against a team.
If you look, Virginia's actually been terrific against the spread this year.
Yeah, but they haven't been a favorite at all.
Yep. I think it's telling.
So this is new territory for them for sure. All right. So obviously I'm on USC plus 3.5 as well. And then a game outside of that I like, I do like Oklahoma minus 5.5 the more I talk myself into it. So I'm gonna take Oklahoma minus 5.5 in the Bedlam game. And then oh my god. I have a couple other plays I'm looking at that I haven't like fired on yet, but I do have like a couple leans. I love Fresno minus 3 at home against Boise State. Like, why is that only minus 3? Boise State sucks.
Yeah, I looked at that game too, and I was like, that line doesn't make sense. The only thing I could think of is Fresno not covering last week.
Yeah. So like, I'm probably gonna lay the wood on Fresno minus 3. I haven't placed it yet, but I'm gonna put that as a best bet. So Oklahoma minus 5.5, Fresno minus 3, USC plus 3.5. And I'm with you, dude. I like you. I like Virginia minus 2, bro.
Yep.
I saw that shit and I was like, bro, that don't make no sense. But I'm with you on that. All right. Hey, before we get out of here, AK,
You usually want to be on the side that doesn't make sense.
yeah, absolutely. AK, before we leave, dude, we gotta talk. Well, you know what? The Toronto Maple Leafs were a favorite on the road against an undefeated Bruins team today. So I was like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna play the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs lost, by the way. So shout out to the Maple Leafs. I'm sure Andrew's sitting in Canada hella happy because he hates Maple Leafs. But man, that doesn't make any sense. And I text Ben too. I was like, Ben, why are the Maple Leafs a favorite? He's like, I don't know. I was like, well, I gotta play the Maple Leafs because that just doesn't make any sense. So I'm just gonna play the Maple Leafs. I don't play hockey very often. Last time I played a line in the NHL, Washington was a favorite, and Washington was like defeated. They didn't have a single win, and everyone's like, why is Washington the favorite? And I played them, and they fucking won. Here we go.
I'll tell you this too, Jordan, before we got to run, but I'm not going to play it because I'm rooting for our season win total to cash tomorrow night, Boston College and Syracuse. We'll be rooting for Boston College, but if you were to ask me, Syracuse is probably right side there.
No. How? They can't stop the run.
I think it's a great buy low spot for Syracuse. So like I said, I'm not playing it because I'm rooting for Boston College to cash our season win total.
It's a huge buy low spot, but Boston College didn't cover last week either. And
yeah,
Syracuse,
that was painful, man. I should have won that game. I just had flashbacks. We finished the game first and goal at the 2-yard line, and all we got to do is punch it in to at least get a push.
Dude, they should have won by a lot more than that. They were in the opponent's territory like 6 times. They came out with 21 points, dude.
It was so frustrating. I almost went and bought some Boston College T-shirts so I could burn them in my backyard that night.
Oh my goodness! All right, AK. Before we get out of here, we gotta talk some college hoops. College hoops season starts on Monday. Give me, outside of the Wahoos, give me 5 teams you're high on this year. I'll give you 5 teams you're high on.
So I'll give you a mid-major to start with. I really like Grand Canyon. Really high on Grand Canyon this year. You can't put Wahoos down because I think they're really, really underrated this year. I did a
outside of the Wahoos. I know you're gonna say them regardless.
Yeah, I really am high on them. I'll tell you a team that I think is going to be good, that was good last year but couldn't get over the hump and just faltered down the end. I like New Mexico coming back again in the Mountain West.
Okay.
Um, like them in the Mountain West. Uh, I mean, I guess the auto answer too is I'm very curious to see what USC is going to be. You know,
They're gonna win
very
the
curious to see
national
what they're
title.
going to be. Hey, I'm cheering for you, buddy. I'm curious to see what USC is going to be, and that's probably it, man. Those are probably the teams that stick out, in my front of my brain. What about you?
Um, I love UNLV this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna be very fucking good. Once again, I think the Mountain West is gonna be a great fucking conference. Obviously, my Gales of my Gales are they're gonna be up there, bro. USC, I'm very high on, dude. They're probably gonna have the best backcourt in the entire country, and
Yeah.
and as we know of college basketball, when you have a good backcourt, you always have a fucking chance to win. I would say Michigan State, but like they're like a darling, like everybody's on them this year.
Right.
Everyone likes them. I think Wisconsin's gonna be very fucking good. I think they're a little underrated coming into the season. I also think Oregon is very underrated. Obviously, they have
Yeah.
Dana Altman. Dana Altman's one of the best not best quarterbacks, best coaches. And like they dealt with a ton of fucking injuries last year, which really fucking was an up and down year for them. But now they have a lot more steadiness. And then last year at the end of the year with Nate Biddle, they kind of figured it out. So I love what Oregon's doing. I think the Pac-12 is going to be very fucking good this year.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a phenomenal college season, man. I'm obviously I played USC to win the national title. I actually played them like I think it was before even Bronny got offered there. I played them like plus 4,500 at Circa.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty good number. I think they're going to be hanging around there at the end. I'm excited to see the Big East though, because now that Rick Pitino,
Yeah, I was going to say Marquette.
I love Marquette too. Tyler Cole is one of the best fucking
Yeah.
point guards in the country. I'm excited to see what Rick Pitino does at St. John's as well.
Yeah.
I think St. John's might be a
I'll tell you
sleeper.
another one that's flying under the radar. It's getting some love is Rutgers.
Yeah, Rutgers always solid team. But the problem with the Big Ten AK is like they always just like they're good in the regular season, and then when they get in the tournament, they all just fucking suck.
They do. Yeah.
It's just like the same shit every year. It's gonna change when USC and UCLA are there, of course, because those two teams will be there. But yeah, I think UNLV might be the most underrated preseason team. Like I think this team, and I'm with you with Grand Canyon. I think Grand Canyon's gonna be great. Grand Canyon did lose a couple of players to the transfer portal, but their conference got worse, whereas they stayed the same, which I think kind of benefits them. But I think UNLV is going to be one of the most underrated teams. They're not ranked. No one's even counting on them. Last year they were better than I expected to be. This year I expect them to be even better. So I'm looking forward to the UNLV season. And when you're out here in January, we're definitely hitting a fucking UNLV game for sure.
Hell yeah.
Hopefully they're at home. I'm looking forward to I'm oh my god, Monday cannot come soon enough. Going forward too on our show with me and AK, we're gonna be talking college hoops as well.
Yep.
So we're gonna be talking college football, college hoops, and we're gonna do this throughout the college hoop season. And last year, both AK and I killed fucking college hoops.
Yep.
So
it was great.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to
Me
it.
too.
We gotta get you out of here though. It's getting late. It's getting late there on the East Coast. But your wife's out of town, dude, so you ain't got nothing to.
I gotta work, gotta make a living too.
Man, you can still sleep, bro. You got more than 9 hours of sleep.
That's right.
This guy. All right, thank you everybody for joining us. Make sure to follow AK on Twitter at AKSports90. Follow myself at Jordan Rules TSP. Make sure to download the Sharps app, SHARPZ. Use promo code Jordan517. It's free to sign up. We love that. Track your bets. Become a better. With that being said, we love y'all. AK, after I sign off, stay on here. Don't leave. I gotta talk to you real quick. So, with that being said, thank you everybody for hanging out with us. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We'll see y'all later. Peace.